When a gacha character saves a dying playstyle, what is going on over here, guys? Thank you.
This frequently thrown around sentiment that pops up every now and then whenever a new gacha character releases that's meant for an archetype or playstyle that is currently in decline in the context of endgame viability. This new character will save an archetype. Now, you may see this conclusion in online forum discussions, but it's primarily used by content creators.
Literally
At its
chicken
best, it's nothing more than a form of
Chicken breast and
clickbait.
vegetables.
And at its worst,
cutting,
it
bro.
actually creates a sort of false narrative by obfuscating the actual state of endgame balance. I'd like to take the time to explain why I feel this way for today's video. Whether it be someone like Escoffier from Genshin Impact, the Dahlia in Honkai Star Rail, or Zenless Zone Zero's Nangon Yu, there's a common thread that runs through all of them. Their abilities and toolkit allow them to
Chat. I skipped Nangong Yu. Anyway.
uplift playstyles and archetypes that, while established long before them, cannot keep up with the current endgame state. For example, a character like Yuzuha didn't save Anomaly, as Anomaly itself lacked a premium support before her debut. So for all intents and purposes, ZZZ's game balance was still establishing its foundation for what a premium team would look like at that point in time for Anomaly. The same can be applied for Fugyu in Star Rail, and I don't know about Genshin. Shenhe maybe? After an archetype's premium team is completely filled out, inevitably the developers of a gacha game will move away from that archetype and either focus on giving the spotlight to other existing playstyles or begin the process of creating completely new ones. And of course, tailoring endgame content for those characters instead. And as their metas continue to evolve throughout their lifespans, inevitably there are one or multiple archetypes that get left behind dramatically for one reason or another related to balance adjustments and new.
This literally looks like Firefly died, bro. Bro just died. Ever since she got space cancer, she never recovered from her stasis. And then she died. And then Silver Wolf, level 99, is on the journey to avenge Firefly. And then what to do? Oh, it's fly high Firefly.
Left behind dramatically for one reason or another related to balance adjustments and newer enemies hard countering a specific playstyle in order to incentivize horizontal investment.
Yeah, you know she's not dead, right? She's in stasis, right? She died, but like she's in stasis. So like, she's not dead. If she's dead, she will not be in stasis. She will be in a fucking tombstone, alright? So she's
pulling
fine.
for the current on-banner
Bro,
characters,
she's in Zonya's,
resulting
exactly,
in
bro.
situations as seen with Cryo, Super Break, and Anomaly in each of their respective examples within Hoyoverse titles. Put this all together, and add in some growing public frustration for good measure, and eventually this results in the development and release of characters whose purpose is to save these declining archetypes from irrelevancy and bring them up to the current standards for endgame content. However, not everything is all fine and dandy in reality, and here's why. All you need to do is apply inverse logic to this whole situation. If a new character saves an archetype from falling behind on their own, then not having the character in question will instead doom them to their ill-fated fall. As with all newly added limited characters in a gacha game, they will be noticeably better when compared to older options, as well as having future endgame content being adjusted to account for their presence after their tailored endgame modifiers are taken out of rotation. When looked at from this angle, I would hardly call the archetype that these characters exist in service of as being saved. Rather, the situation has shifted into this have and have-nots ultimatum, where you cannot play these archetypes effectively without this one specific character. This limits team options, gameplay variety, and puts a lot of pressure on players to pull for and slot in a specific character whom they just may not like, be it for the character's design, playstyle, or some other reason. Suffice to say, I consider the release of these kind of characters to be close to a worst case scenario for game balance and older unit viability, and should be avoided at all cost. There are already several alternatives that exist within these games that help to solve the problems of older playstyles. The first of which is an introduction of a new gameplay mechanic that, with time, will become a mainstay to a player's account usage. Genshin Impact's Dendro element is exactly the kind of example I'd point to for the positive impact it's had on the Electro element amidst its poor reception prior to version 3 and Sumeru. And I would even go as far to say that Dendro did more for Electro than even the Raiden Shogun did on her release. While of course, you'd still need to pull Dendro characters, the total number of options that Dendro encompasses provides a much wider selection to choose from, including 4 stars, 5 stars, and even the free Dendro Traveler themselves. A dramatically different situation when compared to relying on a single character to carry the burden of multiple other characters. The second solution would be to introduce new gear options tailor-made for older existing archetypes. I know in the past I've talked about my own distaste for this kind of approach, but it remains nonetheless a tangible solution despite my own gripes with taking this angle. Simply not having to spend any pulls for many players is enough of a compromise so long as they can keep their favorite characters up to par. Then there is of course the third and last solution, which would be just to buff older characters. We're already seeing this happen to varying degrees of effectiveness and frequency within the Hoyoverse lineup. This is undoubtedly the most popular request among players as it's more convenient for them, and in some cases, it can add more depth to how a character is played. Now, all of this can easily be avoided in the first place if gacha developers were to carefully monitor their own game's balance and keep everything within an acceptable level of power difference between archetypes before the situation reaches that kind of boiling point. There will, of course, never be a perfectly balanced gacha, but they should nonetheless strive for a gacha that can be as balanced as possible, for they are the ones with the tools at their disposal to make that happen. So ideally, when massive chunks of a roster need saving, it would be best to not leave the saving to just one person.
Oh my god, bro, can I chew my food? Am I allowed to chew my food? What? Might I chew my food in 5 seconds? Okay. In any case, bro has an excellent point. It is up to a gacha game to balance said gacha game. Now, out of all the gacha games right now, and it comes to balance, especially for a PvE gacha game, alright? Let me refer you guys to this game I would like to call Honkai God Rail. Because only in Honkai God Rail will you ever see a scenario where you have not 1, not 2, not 3, not 6, not 7, but 8 different tier 0 main DPS in a game mode which only requires 2 teams for any content, and I guess a 3rd team for anomaly arbitration. So the moral of the fucking story is, if you want a balanced gacha game, download HSR today using my code downloading HSR. Okay, I'm not sponsored, right? But yep, God Rail is God Rail with its amount of versatility in options for a DPS, if I can say so myself. And the way I see it, right? I would rather have multiple different teams with a more restrictive team building for each individual team than only 1 or 2 teams with a lot of different options to make those teams work. Does that make sense? So I would rather have multiple tier 0 DPSs where you probably don't really have a lot of like different options for the team building. Like for example, Phynon needs Ceridra. Alright, Firefly needs Dahlia. Alright, Caceres needs Hyacinth. Like these kind of like restrictive team building, but you don't need to pull for set teams if you don't want to pull for set teams. Right? Like if you don't want to play Super Break, don't play Super Break, right? You skip Dahlia, skip Firefly, just focus on the other teams that you want to play. So that each individual team can be performing to the best of their capabilities, and the players won't be as confused as to Is this the best install option for Firefly? Or is this the best install option for Firefly? Should I be pulling Dahlia? Or should I be pulling Fuke? Should I be pulling Servidra? Or should I be pulling Sparkle? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's more clear cut as to, okay, if you want to play Final, boom, get Servidra, get E2, you're done. If you want to play Remembrance, boom, get Serenity, get Hyacinth, you're done. Right? So that is how I personally prefer a diversity of team comps with restrictive team building instead of limited team comps with more or rather less restrictive team building. So that is gonna be my 2 cents. Let me know what you guys think on the Clips channel. I don't know why bro keeps moaning. Oh, okay. God real is God real. Thank you. You have cooled your last cool, my man.